Hello, I'm gonna talk about one of the first projects that I've ever made as I was learning programming. And so I'm gonna show you the app that I made, kind of a quick demo. Then we're gonna look into the code, and then we're gonna refactor it, because I took a quick glance at it, and there are things that need to be addressed here. I started out with C++, as you do, and I used a book, and I was going through and learning slowly C++, but then I hit the wall, which is pointers. Pointers are really confusing for beginners, because especially when examples are given of pointers to variables, and pointers to variables, okay, I think I got it. But then pointers are also used to access data on the heap, right? Pointers are also used to work with arrays, so I just couldn't comprehend pointers. And then I've decided to check Java out, and as it turned out, Java didn't have pointers. Java has references and garbage collection, so it's all taken care of. So that was the main reason why I switched from C++ to Java. So this is one of the first programs that I wrote, and it's a GUI application. And what it does, well, let's just run it, and I'm gonna demonstrate what it does. Here you see a simple window, 2 text boxes and 3 buttons, and pretty much that's it. Here is a text, attention. Please don't use £sign when you typing an unciphered text. Insert here text that you want to be encrypted or decrypted. Apparently back then I also didn't know how to write properly. So basically the program, what it does is you put whatever text, you say hello world, you put text here, this is the source text, then you press encrypt/decrypt, and since this text is unencrypted, we need to encrypt this, and we press encrypt, and here is the encrypted text, and we can copy it by button, or I guess like so, and we can clear it. And for example, we send this encrypted text via internet to someone, and they get it, and they have this program as well, and they passed this text in here, and they press encrypt decrypt. In this case we want it decrypted, and here is the encrypted text, hello world. So basically it's a really simple program that just encrypts simple plain text, and then it can decrypt it. Now let's look at the code. The code has 2 classes. The first class is main, which is very simple. It basically just launches the application. So you could say that the application is contained in one single file in class, because it's a really simple application. I also, for GUI, I use javax.swing. So swing, basically in main we simply initialize an object of class converter, and that's it. So let's check out the converter class. Public class converter extends JFrame. It extends JFrame, which is a window in Swing. Then we have here content pane, which is gonna contain the main content of the window. Then we have source text. It's a text area, this text box with the source text, the transformed text. And then for some reason I have button copy in here. Since here we don't use any methods of a class, so everything is being initialized and launched in the constructor. So let's see. Constructor set always on top true, set default close operations, set bounds. Basically, the reason why it sets bounds, and you can see here, for example, for text, it also sets these weird bounds, is because I used a plugin in Eclipse. It's the IDE actually that I'm using right now, and I used it back then, and there was a plugin which you could use, and basically what it did was you could, much like in, you know, C# WinForms in Visual Studio IDE or in Delphi, also like you could construct GUI applications by using like for example, here is a window, and you just place components in the window like it's visual. So, and then it generates the code, and so that's why these arbitrary values, you know, are used, because I just placed it in the window and it transformed it into the code right here. Okay, so these methods relate to JFrame, then content pane, we initialize it, we set the content pane to the window to the JFrame, layout we set it to null to have absolute positions. Then we initialize source text, and this is this horrible text that I wrote here. We add it to the content pane, same for transform text, but we set editable to false. Okay, then button transform, encrypt and decrypt, it's called, and we add action listener. So what kind of action is gonna be performed when we click the button? Well, this code will be run, and as you can see, there is, it tests check, and this is like horrible, because what does check actually checks? What is this function checks? You have no context here, and you know, so if check returns true, then we set text of transform text to encrypted text, so we encrypt, and if check returns false, then we decrypt text. Okay, so we can, from, you know, since this code is quite simple, we can guess that check checks if the text is to be encrypted or decrypted, but this kind of naming is horrible, because check for a function that returns true or false is like, what does it mean, check? You know. Then here, for example, we use another method related to JFrame for some reason, and it's not separated or anything. Quite a bad kind of way to structure a program as if it was structured haphazardly, you know. And perhaps it was because I was using the plugin, but still it's no way to go, you know. The clear button, here we just set transform text to an empty string, pretty straightforward. Then copy button, here it's actually pretty cool. I was really proud back then when I did that I had a button that could copy to clipboard, basically. So we get a text from transform text, and then we get a system clipboard, and then we set contents of a clipboard to string selection. This is, I just found this solution on the internet. I was proud of it nonetheless. So this is this function check. At least I wrote a comment, you know, good for me. This function checks if the input text is encrypted or not. Since the program change, basically it checks if the code is encrypted and decrypted, and as you can see, we loop through every character in the string, and if the string contains a pound sign, then it returns false. That means that the text is encrypted and it needs to be decrypted. Otherwise it returns true, meaning it's just a simple proper English text and it needs to be encrypted. The reason why I checked for # is because of the way the text is being encrypted. So we encrypt text here by moving letters alphabetically to the right. Basically I just +3, every character +3. So if a character in the text was A, then we get a C. Or wait, do we get a C or do we get a D? I'm not sure. I think we get D. If our text is 5 A's, then the encrypted text is gonna be 5 D's, you know, the string. And we decrypt it by moving letters alphabetically to the left, so back. It's probably the simplest method of encryption. Again, it was one of my first projects and it was yes, it's not gonna be something, you know, incredible. And now let's get to actually refactoring. So let's start out by actually renaming check function, because that's just not acceptable. It returns false if it is encrypted. So we're gonna name this is plain text, and we're gonna use it instead of check. So basically now we have self-documenting code, because we can see here that if plain the text is plain text, then we encrypt text. If it's not a plain text, if it's encrypted text, then we want to decrypt it. Next, actually these methods of this class converter, they're not, you know, they take strings as parameters. So basically there is no reason for them to be methods of this class. In fact, if we wanted to make some kind of sense, we would make these methods static. They do not use the fields of a particular object, and also we don't use these fields, so we don't really need them. But let's actually make this make a bit more sense. I don't want to make those methods static. I would rather this here, I would remove that, you know, and instead use the actual fields of this class. String src text equals source text get text, like so. Txt here as well, and here as well. So instead of using parameters, we're gonna use the fields that we actually have in this class, and we actually don't need this button as a field, so we're gonna remove that, and here we're gonna say it's gbutton. And since we don't need to provide any parameters anymore, this is gonna remove that. And the code looks a bit cleaner, and having these as actual methods makes more sense. Let's also remove these, because we know how encryption and decryption works. It's quite a simple way. Okay, now our code is much cleaner. Now let's actually address this please don't use #, and actually the way we check whether or not it's a plain text. Well, first off, I guess back then I didn't know that there are that string has methods that let you do basically what I did here with for loops, but rather with just one single method that can check if a string contains pound sign. Let's src. I don't actually know what it, maybe it's like contains, yeah, contains char sequence. Beautiful. So we can just say, hey, does it contain this? I don't know if that actually will work. Maybe I need to do it like that. Yeah. And so we can actually basically return. So if it contains, then it's not a plain text. So place this here. And so instead of this whole loop that loops through every character and checks for it, we can actually use a built-in method. In here also we kind of like, as you can see, we have a, for some reason it's called ciphertext. Let's call it output text, because this makes more sense, or even output, simply output. And actually, since we're using the fields now, instead of setting text in here, we can actually simply call this method and then do it like so: set text output, and make it void. Yeah, pretty simple. We can do the same with this function here. Output. This here is called normal text. Okay. Yeah. And simply call these functions. Also, this is a bit wonky, because if you wanna send hello to our friend, we write hello, we encrypt it, we copy it, and we send it to our friend. Our friend opens up the program, pastes this in here, and they want to decrypt it, right? Pressing decrypt, and the output is another encrypted text, and then we think like, what's up, you know, with that? It's because we rely on the hashtag. Basically, if we were to insert hello and press space and encrypted it, then it's gonna work, you know, here, you know, because we rely on pound signs. But if we don't have spaces and we don't have hashtags, then it's the program is gonna get confused, and it's not gonna be able to encrypt and decrypt stuff not properly anyway. So the way we can actually resolve this issue, if we first off, we're not gonna need this hint here. What we are gonna need is basically, when we encrypt text, let's put at the end of the output, once we're done encrypting, let's put something like output plus equals something like, let's do backslash, and then I don't know, the project is called Cipher Converter, so let's do cc, and I don't know, my name d, ccd. So this is gonna be a code, kind of a safe code. That means that it's a, oh, let's do exclamation mark. So encrypted text ends with exclamation mark and ccd, okay? That's arbitrary, just came up with it just now. So now can we actually check if it ends with, and we can say !CCD. So it's just a better way to check if our text is encrypted or decrypted. And also we basically wanna go to length -3, -4, yeah, because it's gonna be ending in this and we don't need to decrypt it. Let's check if that works. Quick hello. Now previously it didn't work. Now let's check if this is gonna work. Hello, yeah, it works. Great. Let's do something. Hello world. Encrypt, copy, paste, decrypt. Yeah. So yeah, that's just a better way to check whether or not the code, the text is a plain text or an encrypted text. Of course, there are a bunch of stuff to add as well. For example, we could put a label in here to say that this is the source, like put the source text in here, and this here is the converted, text. But I'm not gonna do that because like it's a simple project. I just did a bit of refactoring, so let's do thanks for watching, and decrypt it. Yeah, thank you. This was fun for me to go through my old code, even though it was kind of painful to see some stuff like check function or the general grammar in the comments even. Yeah, thank you, bye.